Hello, new managers. Welcome to Leadership Lessons. Today's topic is expectations. Have you ever felt that you keep repeating yourself? I explained that person already 20 times and it's still not happening. He's still not bringing the results, still making the same mistakes. If this is happening, you probably need to stop and think, why is this happening? What is causing that person to continuously, week after week, day after day, do the same mistakes? Repeat the same problem or bring you problems instead of solutions. Most of these situations come usually from unclear expectations. Expectations are crucial when you're delegating works and tasks, working on career progressions, working on monthly or quarterly or annual objectives. And most of the work I do with managers is helping them clarify expectations right from the start. It can actually start even before you hire someone. This is another discussion for future topics, maybe. One of the most frequent points that needs to be clarified is the deadline. I see a lot of managers sending emails or asking something in a meeting, but failing to say by when is needed. Then the second issue I see is usually failing to specify how they want things done, if there is any specific outcome that is expected from that work. Most of you might already have heard about the acronym SMART when preparing specific objectives, maybe, but never thought of it for defining expectations. Well, expectations are objectives. So let's just remind what SMART means. S means specific. M is measurable. A means achievable. R is for realistic. And T is for time-bound. So let's review all that with an example. If I only ask you, can you do that report for me? Maybe the person will understand if she or he has already done it multiple times. But if it's the first time, it might be a bit vague, right? So you will need to be very specific. Hey Joe, I need you to prepare the report on the debtors, and you can use last month's report as guidance on the format and output I'm expecting. It has to be measurable. In this case of a report, it is either done or not done, right? It's a qualitative or discrete variable. But in some cases, it might be a quantitative variable, like achieving at least 90% of the target. It has to be achievable. In this case, I need to be sure that you have access to all the information that you might need to prepare the report, where there is access to a system, a folder, or raw data. It has to be realistic, meaning it's real work. I'm not asking you to learn how to cook or knit. It's something that really has a sense for the company. For instance, this is important because we are going to use that report for deciding which clients we have to call next week. And it has to be time-bound. And this is where a lot of managers fail. They fail to give a deadline. So, Joe, can you have this report ready by Thursday noon? Deadlines are not always set in stone, and things might happen during the week that will affect the original deadline. But still, you have to give a deadline for the person to work towards it and to plan and organize themselves. Parkinson Law states that time is elastic. Work will expand to cover all the time that is available to do a task. So if they have 3 days for that work, they will use 3 days. If they have 2 weeks, they will use 2 weeks. And if they don't have any deadline, it might extend to whenever I have the time, which might be never. Deadlines are intrinsically connected with priorities. So the way you define a deadline is important. Demanding a deadline, like, I need this by Thursday noon, is signifying to others that this is a top priority. So it might mean that they will have to stop other requests and create problems in other areas, maybe affecting other departments or other processes. Asking for a deadline, can you do it by Thursday noon, is opening a door for the person to speak about colliding requests, which allows the manager to take a decision on priorities. and potentially communicate proactively with third parties. So these are the 5 ingredients to have clear expectations. Be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So be smart. Now, when you want to be specific, it is important to remember the distinction between outputs and outcome. For example, if we take a salesperson, you might ask them to do 70 calls per day. But what happens if they do 70 calls, but always fall on an answering machine, or the prospect don't pick up the call? Is this useful for you? Maybe not, right? Now, if you ask them to speak with at least 20 people per day, you are ensuring that your sales effort is going to the right direction because you actually have a result speaking with someone. It means that a lucky employee might only have to do 20 calls during that day, while another will need to do 100 calls to get to the same result. In this case, calls are the outputs, and speaking to a prospect is the outcome. Like in gardening, watering the plants can be an output, while having beautiful flowers will be the outcome. Failing to specify the outcome, and you will get a lot of outputs, but no real results. What you are really looking for is the result, the outcome, the final product that you are expecting at the end. The efforts are the mean to get there, but they are not the aim. As a manager, you need to be conscious of the efforts, outputs required for a job, because that will guide potential feedback in the future. They will guide your learning and developing of your team. But we will see that in future trainings. But clarifying expectations is not enough. You might have prepared smart expectations and clarify all the points and outcome, but it's not automatically a bulletproof solution. Your team might still fail to deliver. People will understand things in different ways, a different way that you have explained. People make automatic connections to other things, to other ideas that they have experienced in the past. And these ideas and concepts might be different from yours. You might have been very specific about something, but still not specific enough because of everyone's interpretation of what has been discussed. So it's important to confirm that everyone is understanding the expectation the same way. And to do that, ask that person to rephrase it. If you say, Joe, could you prepare the debtors report by Thursday noon by using last month's reports model and then up-to-date data from the ERP? I need that report to decide who we need to call next week. Now you should ask Joe, can you let me know what you have understood about that and if you have any questions? Another powerful tool to confirm that your employee has understood the expectation is to ask them to send you an email back with a synthesis of what you are expecting. Because it's when people write the expectations in their own words that confusion starts to surface. And this is your chance to clarify those confusions. You want to be sure that you and your employee have 100% the same understanding of the expectation. You can assess how clear from 1 to 10 you believe your expectation is. But you need as well to understand how your employee is assessing from 1 to 10. Maybe on your side, it's a 10, but on your employees, it's still a 5. And when it happens, there is confusion, there are discrepancies, and the results are not showing. So just to synthesize, 2 things have to happen. First, clarifying expectations, then confirming that the person is understanding the expectation. And if after that it's still not clear, we have to explain again with different words, different approach, showing some examples, or running the person through what is expected. Sometimes it helps to have that person explain what they plan to do about it. So you might detect some incoherencies, focusing on the wrong thing or heading in the wrong direction. Then expectation doesn't stop here. An expectation is a living thing. If you're driving and you take your eyes out of the road for a moment, you might end up in the ditch. Or if you're running in a desert road like that, it might not be a big problem, but if you are on a highway, that might be quite dangerous. So keep an eye on the expectations and ensure that the person is still following the right path. And if you realize that something is not happening, you have to sit down with that person and re-clarify as many times as possible. The same way as a GPS is always telling you to keep on the road, right? So this is all you have to remember about expectation. And this will work whether you are delegating a small task for a week, working on monthly, quarterly, or yearly objectives, or preparing a performance review. Here are things to remember. Use the SMART methodology to help you define clear expectations. Be specific about outcomes, but be conscious about the outputs required to do those outcomes. Ask and agree on a deadline. Don't assume that people have understood your expectations from the first time. Ask people to rephrase it or email you their understanding. Confirm that both sides understand the expectation 100%. Sit again and re-clarify when needed, and keep an eye on the expectations. Thank you for joining another Leadership Lessons. If you need help implementing these tips or exploring all the ideas, message me on LinkedIn. See you soon.